All right, we are back with a new video, and today I'll be giving my thoughts on Hilda and the Mountain King, which came out on Netflix last week. Now, I should say up front that this movie's release caught me by surprise, as it wasn't really on my radar until it just dropped, and a lot of that is because while I'm familiar with the Hilda series, I don't follow it too closely. I watched the first season when it came out and the first four episodes of season two. And while I got a general idea of how season two ended, I never got around to watching the last nine episodes. In general, I think Hilda's a good show with an interesting world, beautiful animation, and pretty good music. However, I've always had trouble getting into it. It's a show that I thought would have had a lot more slice of life episodes involved, and while there are good character moments in there, I feel like it leans too much into the fantasy adventure elements where every episode has some monster or thing to find. It's not bad, and I really wanted to like it more, but I didn't get what I was hoping to get out of it. But with this movie coming out, I thought it'd be fun to give the series another chance, especially with what I heard about the rest of season 2. I thought about rewatching the series in preparation for the movie, or at least watching the episodes I missed, but ultimately, I decided to go into this movie blind as 1, I want to review this as a standalone movie, and 2, I felt pretty confident I could piece together anything I missed. In any case, the remainder of this video does contain spoilers for the movie, so if you don't want to be spoiled, now's your chance to leave. So overall, I found the movie pretty good. While there were a few things I didn't know right away, like the fact that Tryla body swapped Hilda and Baba at the end of season 2, I was able to follow it all right. I also enjoyed the pacing where it's just between Hilda trying to become human again, and Joanna trying to find her, and David and Frida trying to come up with their own solutions. It keeps the story moving so things don't feel too slow. Speaking of which, I love Joanna in this movie. She's a character I already like quite a bit on the show, especially with her relationship to Hilda. But now seeing her in the movie search desperately for her daughter and getting really torn up when she comes up short is really great to watch. As I've mentioned with the series, the animation and especially the music are great. They do a great job of building a calm atmosphere. There are plenty of beautiful moments, like when Hilda and Triala look out at the city in the distance, especially with the night sky and the soft glow of the city lights. It's a really pretty shot. I think one thing that also helps is the fact that so much of the movie is set at night, where we get a lot of these great shots. And obviously, with scenes like Hilda running through the forest and jumping from tree to tree and climbing mountains, really embracing the troll lifestyle. All of that set up a bunch of really wonderful scenes that really take advantage of the medium of animation. Another thing I like is how the movie creates a parallel between trolls and humans. On one hand, trolls are misunderstood and are harmed by humans painting their kind with broad strokes. A lot of that is symbolized by the language barrier, where humans assume that trolls can't talk just because they can't understand them. We also get some scenes highlighting typical troll life. They have friends, they eat meals, they hoard things that they like. But on the other hand, the movie avoids romanticizing trolls by presenting them as a uniformly peaceful and noble species. On the other hand, the movie goes out of its way to show there's diversity within their ranks, that they don't always agree on everything, that not all of them are friends with each other, and that there are even some bad apples in the bunch. Obviously, the biggest example of this is with Trundle, aka the Mountain King, where we hear about how he's able to mobilize a lot of the trolls to invade the city of Trollberg, but in the end, he's taken out because enough people disagree with him, especially his brother, to where they resist him and they have this big battle that ultimately results in Trundle being imprisoned. So obviously we get a lot of diversity within the trolls. They're not just one, like homogenous culture. So I feel like that not only makes the parallel with humans more realistic, but it also explains why humans are so quick to judge the entire species rather than trying to get to know them better. Then there's the central conflict of the story, with Hilda doing stuff for Trundle in exchange for turning her back to human. And I quickly assumed he was the Mountain King, as, well, he kind of lives in a mountain. But given the storyline of him promising to turn Hilda back and the specific tasks he was asking her to do, it quickly became apparent that he was deceiving her and that he was somehow a villain in all this. And, well, he is. I mean, he breaks out of his prison cell and he tries invading Trollberg. Now, interestingly, it seems like Trundle wouldn't have turned Hilda back on his own, as we see that's only through Hilda being reunited with Joanna and Baba being reunited with Trella that transforms both of them back to their respective forms. However, given how Trundle is shown to act in indirect ways through the movie, as I'll explain more in a second, I'm actually inclined to think that this was his plan all along. We see that when Hilda touches the orb that turns out to be his eye, she gets a weird vision involving her mother. And while he probably didn't plan on Joanna, Baba, and Trella all being right outside the cave she was escaping from, I mean, he probably figured out that Hilda would have used the vision to conclude that whatever it is that she was looking for depended on her finding her mother, that that was an important task. But also helps her see his motivation for invading Trollberg, which obviously involves him, like trying to reunite with Amma, the troll mother. I mean, now I could see some people saying that this was an unintentional thing, as we never actually hear Trundle or any of the trolls explicitly mention Alma throughout the movie. But the movie at least makes clear that it was at least a subconscious motivation, which explains why Trundle is able to easily mobilize so much of the troll population. So, on the whole, I found the presentation pretty interesting as it feels like we're learning more about this troll universe along with the human characters, where I don't feel like anything is spoon fed to us, and I think it's an interesting way of how all this conflict is presented. On that note, I thought the ending was pretty satisfying and realistic as well. Rather than have the trolls be immediately accepted by the humans, we see Trollberg implement a more incremental step, allowing them into the city once a year to visit Amma. We even see a kid watching the ceremony from the window, only for his mother to pull him away in disapproval. It shows that while these deep seated prejudices remain, especially since an attack happened not too long ago, progress is being made, and there's hope that a day will come where humans and trolls can coexist. Considering the number of works centered around systemic social issues that end with the masses rapidly and universally accepting more progressive ideals, or long-standing authoritarian regimes that suddenly adopt constitutional democracies without any forethought or growing pains that a move like that would involve in real life, the fact that this movie takes a more realistic approach to change is refreshing to see. So that's another element that I really enjoy. Now, with all that said, I'll admit the movie does have a couple flaws. For one, I didn't find David and Frida's storyline to be nearly as interesting as the others. It wasn't bad per se, but considering they are two of the less interesting characters in the story, at least in my opinion, I wasn't that compelled whenever they showed up. I also thought that the entire side plot of the students protesting the safety patrol was pretty underdeveloped, in part because a lot of David and Frida's screen time was dedicated to them searching for Hilda on their own. I mean, yeah, we had that side plot of David trying to keep his involvement secret from his mother, who obviously is very much on the safety patrol side. But I don't know. I wasn't that too invested in their relationship throughout the movie. I also think Auberg's redemption arc was a bit rushed. Like, basically, what it comes down to is that he gets a vision in the orb, he stands down, gets a medal, and then immediately retires? Like, considering how big of a presence he is throughout season two, or at least in the episodes I saw him in, I was hoping we get a bit more of his redemption sprinkled in, at least throughout this movie. So, I'll concede that some of that may be due to me not being fully familiar with season two. But at the end of the day, when you're considering the movie as a whole, I did find that element a bit rushed. So while I think the movie has a couple of flaws, I'll admit that they're not nearly as major as I'm making them out to be. And on the whole, I really think the movie is pretty well told on the whole. So yeah, those are my general thoughts on the movie. I mean, I thought it was a pretty good film on the whole. It was really fun seeing all these characters again. I felt like this story had a very strong emotional core where we see a lot of Joanna being distraught when she's unable to find Hilda while she's missing. We also get plenty of Hilda trying to adapt to troll life, really liking it, but also really wanting to turn back into human and reunite with her own mother. So I think this movie does have a lot of what I was looking for, where there is plenty of fantasy elements involved, with obviously learning about the trolls and with the Mountain King really wanting to take over Trollberg. But I think the emotional core of this movie is really what drives it for me. I think it's a pretty good movie on the whole, all things considered. So there we go. Those are my thoughts on Hilda and the Mountain King. If you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe. I have plenty more animation content coming in the future, so stay tuned for that. Obviously, I hope to start talking more about these movies moving forward. So there's that. But for now, that is the video. See ya.